Hey, hello everyone, welcome. In this session, we're going to learn how to set up a monitoring server for our Cardano node. In this case, we are continuing in our example of running a stake pool. So what I'm going to be monitoring is my three servers, my block producer and my couple of relays. Each of those, of course, is running Cardano node. And it turns out that Cardano node has this feature that allows you to put out some metrics for Prometheus to scrape. On top of that, we will put also node exporter in each of our relays and also in our block producer. And we will set up a monitoring server here. This will be our instance running Prometheus. And later on, in a different video, we will see how to configure a Grafana dashboard that will actually pull out metrics from the Prometheus and use it for presenting us good visualizations of the data that is relevant for us. So in this example, I am running this for my stake pool, but of course you can do that for any kind of Cardano node. That means if you are running an exchange, if you are running a wallet, if you are running a decentralized application, you can use a similar setup for monitoring your nodes. So let's go. The first thing that we want to do is to actually prepare Cardano node to put out these metrics for Prometheus. And for doing that, we want to actually just tweak our configuration file a little bit. Let me just open it here in my relay 1. And here it is. This is the field that you are looking for. It says has Prometheus. The default configuration file is saying here 127.0.0.1, so it is configured for localhost. That means that it will be fine if you are running Prometheus within the same machine. But in this case, we are going to set a external service running Prometheus that will be responsible for scraping data. So basically what we want is to allow for incoming connections from the external, from the outside world. So we are going to change that to say 0000. And the next thing that we want to do is to actually prepare the port. And that means that you can stick with the default or change to any port that you want. In this case, I'm going to stick with the default, which is 12798. And that is all you need to do in your configuration file. Next step is to actually prepare node exporter. And for that, I'm leaving you here the documentation to node exporter. It should be here. So if you follow this link, you will come to this website where you have installing and running the node exporter. If you follow this link, download page, you will find the tarball for the binaries. And this is the version that I am using, Node Exporter 150 Linux version. And I have already downloaded it here, so let me just show you. So I have downloaded the tarball and I have extracted the files here. So let me just get into Node Exporter and show you what is inside. You have the license, Node Exporter, and notice. So Node Exporter, this is the actual binary. And the next step would be to actually just copy this binary to a directory that is in our path. And this is basically because we want to configure Node Exporter to also be handled by systemd so that we can relax a little bit. So let me just copy Node Exporter into the same directory where we put Cardano node binaries before. So it is the directory user local bin. I have already done that, so let me just skip this and show you which node exporter. And as you can see, it is in this directory, user local bin. So that is nice. Next step, if we want it to be run by systemd, well, we need to prepare the unit file. Let me just come back a little bit here. And for preparing the unit file, you will put the unit file in the same location where we put the unit file for cardano-node service, right? So it is under etc systemd system, and this time the name of the file will be node exporter.service. Remember that .service is a requirement by systemd. Something like this will work. So this is a very simple unit file, and I'm leaving it here for you to use it if you find it useful. So here it is, a very simple one. We are just saying that we want to start node exporter, preparing the kill signal. It is sigterm, the default. So we are saying that we want a clean shutdown with sigterm, and we will allow for 30 seconds to achieve this clean shutdown, and after that we will send a stronger kill signal. Then we have restart always and restart sec. It is 5 seconds, so it is 5 seconds between restart attempts, and install wanted by multi-user target. So very simple unit file. Let me just save it, close, and from here, as always, when you create or edit a unit file, you need to do systemctl daemon reload. And finally, from here, we are ready to actually start node exporter. In my system, node exporter is already running, so this start command will have no effect, but I can show you here that sudo systemctl status node exporter will give us its status, and it is active, running since 2 weeks and 1 day ago. And well, the useful information that the status provides. So let me just clear this screen again. And the final thing that you need to do is to actually make sure that your ports are open. So Cardano node will be using port 12798, and node exporter will be using port 9100. So make sure that in your firewall you accept incoming connections on those open ports. From here, you would do exactly the same thing for your other nodes. I have done that already, so I'm gonna skip that part, but it is exactly repeating the same process that we have done until now. And from here, it is now time to configure Prometheus in this monitoring server. And for getting Prometheus, you have this link over here. It is Prometheus.io download. And you will find the binaries again here in the tarballs, and you have Prometheus 243. This is the version that I am using. Of course, this is a Linux machine, so I am using the Linux version. So let me just show you what we have in here. I have downloaded the tarball and I have extracted it here. So let me go into Prometheus, and you have the binary, the executable, and you have Prometheus YML, which is the configuration file that we are going to use. And I am again leaving you here the configuration file that I am using. It's a very simple one. And let me just open that so that we can take a look and see what's going on here. Prometheus YML. And here it is. So the relevant part is down here where we are preparing a couple of jobs. The first job will be Cardano. It is, of course, for the metrics coming from Cardano node. We are configuring a scrape interval of 5 seconds. And then we have, I think I'm gonna exit, no, and open it again because I messed it a little bit. So there we go. We set the targets. It is for the 3 of my servers, and in this case the port is 12798. And for the other job, we have named it exporter, and it is for the metrics coming from the node exporter, and we have the same scrape interval of 5 seconds. Again, the same stuff for my 3 servers. In this case, for node exporter, we are using the default port for node exporter, which is 9100. And with that, we are ready to save and get out of here. Now, we have, in this case, configured the Prometheus to work, but In my particular case, this is running on my machine over there. So that means that I am not using a real server. I have a dynamic IP on this setup. So basically that means that I am using this only for this demonstration purposes. So if it was a real instance running Prometheus, I would also prepare it to run on systemd. But since this is just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to run it from here. But the next step will be to actually run Prometheus. So I will run it from this same directory, which will be running this executable. And I am setting the path here for the configuration file, which is prometheus.yml, which is the file that we just tweaked a minute ago. When you run it, you will find this relevant line over here that says that it is listening on port 9090. So you want to make sure that in your firewall you open port 9090. And it is important because later when we create the Grafana dashboard, we will be contacting this server at port 9090 so that we can get the information that we want. So make sure that you have that on your firewall, and that should be good to go. Now, next step, just make sure that everything is working nice. And I think we have 1H. I'm just using the URL with the to the endpoint, and we have it working. And if you have if you type Cardano, you will find all the metrics that are coming from cardano-node. So let's say, for example, epoch, and just execute that. And these are the results. So all three instances are telling us that we are on epoch 176. And just for those that are curious, this result is an actual query. If you want to use it, for example, you can just execute that and get the results only for that particular instance. And this is PromQL. So basically, if you want to learn about queries in Prometheus, you need to learn PromQL, and you will find that in the Prometheus website. So now, next step will be to actually get our Grafana dashboard ready, but that will be part of the next video. So I'm gonna cut it here. I hope it helps. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you very much. See you in the next video. Cheers.